The first thing she said after climbing into my truck was, "Please don't ask questions until I stop shaking." That was not the kind of sentence a man forgets. I had been coming back from a long run through Missouri. Empty trailer, bad rain, worse mood. My name is Mark. I was 38 then, and I had made a clean profession out of being hard to reach. Long-haul trucking suited me because nobody expected much from a man who was always somewhere between exits. I had a small house outside Tulsa, a mortgage I paid on time, and rooms I barely used. That night, the rain was coming down so hard the highway looked like it was being erased. I saw her walking along the shoulder with both arms wrapped around herself, head down, moving like every step cost her. I drove past her at first. I'll admit that. I watched her disappear in the side mirror, and for about 5 seconds I told myself all the things men tell themselves when they don't want trouble. Not my business. Could be a setup, could be somebody's mess, keep moving. Then she slipped on the gravel and caught herself against the guardrail. "Damn it," I muttered, and eased the truck onto the shoulder. When I backed up with the flashers on, she didn't run to me. She just stood there, soaked through, watching the cab like she had to decide whether I was safer than the rain. I rolled the passenger window down. "You need help?" She blinked water off her face. She was attractive, even half frozen and scared. Not in a polished way, in a grown woman way. Tired, careful, still holding herself together. "My car broke down," she called over the rain. "A few miles back, my phone's dead. Get in before you turn into a medical bill." She hesitated. I unlocked the door. "Lady, I'm not selling magazines. It's raining." That got the smallest reaction from her mouth, not quite a smile. She climbed up into the passenger seat and shut the door with both hands. The cab filled with cold air and wet clothes. She started trembling so hard her teeth clicked. I reached behind my seat and grabbed the only spare shirt I had, an old flannel I kept for breakdowns. "Here," I said, "you need to get out of that wet stuff." She stared at the shirt, then at me. I turned toward the windshield and raised one hand. "I'm facing forward. You can use the sleeper curtain. I don't have anything else. That's what the shirt is for." She took it from me. "You do this often? Pick up women on highways and hand them clothes? Only on Tuesdays, it's Friday. Then you're getting premium service." A weak laugh escaped her, quick and surprised. She pulled the sleeper curtain halfway and moved behind it. I kept my eyes on the road ahead, hands on the wheel, like the truck was still moving. I heard wet fabric hit the rubber floor mat, heard her breathing, unsteady and embarrassed. A minute later, she slid back into the passenger seat wearing my shirt. It was too big on her, and she had pulled it tight around herself like it was the last wall she had. "Better?" I asked. "No." I turned the heat higher. She rubbed her hands together, still shaking. Then she looked at me in a way that made the whole cab go quiet. "I need one more thing," she said. "I'm so cold." I knew what she meant before she moved. She didn't lean in like a flirt. She leaned in like a person who had run out of options and hated asking. I sat there like an idiot for half a second. Then I opened my arm just enough. She pressed against my side, her face near my shoulder, both hands tucked between us. She was ice cold. I kept one hand on the wheel and the other lightly around her back, not holding her in place, just giving her heat. "Is this okay?" she whispered. "Yeah, you're stiff. I'm driving an 80,000-pound machine. We're parked." Then I'm emotionally committed to safety. She gave another small laugh, but it came out shaky. I felt her breathing slow against me. If I'd known where that one awkward minute was headed, I might have opened the door and walked into traffic, just to avoid the paperwork my heart was about to create. Instead, I sat there and let a stranger warm herself against me, and for the first time in years, I remembered what it felt like when another person's comfort mattered more than my own convenience. After a few minutes, she pulled back. "Thank you. What's your name?" "Chloe. Mark." She nodded once. "I'm sorry about the shirt. It's had worse nights." She looked toward the windshield. "Can you take me to a motel? Closest one's 30 miles, maybe more. Road's bad. I can pay you back." I didn't ask. That made her look at me again, sharper this time. "People usually ask. I'm not people. I'm a trucker. Lower expectations." Her mouth moved like she wanted to smile and didn't trust it yet. I put the truck in gear. "Where's your car?" "Back near mile marker 214. It just died. I waited an hour." No one stopped. "Hazards on?" They were. Battery probably gave up. "You alone?" She looked down at her hands. Yes, there was a pause long enough to tell me the word had a history behind it. I didn't push. We drove slowly through the rain. After a while, she said, I left Kansas City this morning. That's a long way to go in a car that didn't want to cooperate. It cooperated long enough. With what? With getting me away. I kept my eyes forward. From who? She didn't answer right away. A man named David, she said finally. We lived together. Not married. He liked knowing where I was, who I talked to, what I spent, what I wore. It got worse after I told him I was done. I tightened my hand around the wheel. He hurt you? She looked toward the side window. Not the way you're probably thinking. He was careful. He didn't have to swing at me to make the room feel small. I understood that more than I wanted to. You have family? Not close. I have a friend in Tulsa, or I thought I did. I was trying to get there. What's her name? Erin. You called her? Yesterday, from a gas station. I told her I was coming. Then my phone died today. I nodded. You can call from my house. Her head turned. Your house? It's closer than a motel. Dry clothes, phone charger, couch, door locks. In the morning, I'll take a look at your car. No. I can't do that. You can. You don't know me. I know you're soaked cold, and your car is dead on the side of a highway. You don't know what comes with me. That line sat between us. I glanced at her. Does it have a name and drive a pickup? She shut her eyes for a second. I don't want to bring trouble to your door, she said. My door's been bored for years. Mark. That was the first time she said my name, and it sounded too careful for a woman sitting in my shirt. I kept my voice even. You can sleep on the couch. I'll sleep in my room. In the morning, you make calls. I look at the car, and we figure out the next step. That's all. She studied me like she was searching for the trick. What do you want for it? Nothing. Nobody wants nothing. I want to get home without reading about you in tomorrow's local news. That's about it. She looked away. Few seconds later, I nodded. My house was dark when we got there. It always looked like a place where somebody lived on paper. Mail stacked on the counter. Clean enough because I was never home enough to make it messy. Quiet enough to remind me why I stayed gone. I gave her a towel, sweatpants from a drawer, and pointed down the hall. Bathrooms there. Guest rooms, more storage than guest, but the couch is decent. She stood in the kitchen holding the clothes. You're really not going to ask for proof? Of what? That I'm not lying. I leaned against the counter. Are you? No. Then we're current. Her face changed. Not dramatic. Just the way people look when they've been braced for impact and the impact doesn't come. She went into the bathroom. I put water in the kettle and found a can of soup that had probably been waiting for a better life. When she came out in dry clothes, she looked smaller somehow, but steadier. She sat at the kitchen table, wrapped both hands around the mug I gave her, and stared down at it. Soup's not fancy, I said. It's technically food, according to the label. She tried to answer, but her mouth shook. Then she started crying. Not loud, not performative. She just put one hand over her face and broke. I stood there, uncomfortable as any man would be when a woman cries in his kitchen, and he owns exactly 0 emotional tools sharper than a socket wrench. Hey, I said quietly. You're safe here. That only made it worse. I'm sorry, she said into her hand. I'm sorry. I'm just tired. I know. No, you don't. You're right. I don't. She lowered her hand and looked at me. Thank you for not making me explain everything while I was still wet and scared. That bar's on the floor, Chloe. You'd be surprised how many men trip over it. I pulled out the chair across from her and sat down. I'm not one of them. She watched me for a long second. No, she said. I don't think you are. That should have been the moment I reminded both of us that she was leaving soon. Instead, I sat with her until she finished the soup. Then I gave her the couch, a blanket, my charger, and the house phone. My room's at the end of the hall, I said. Door stays open unless you want it closed. She stood beside the couch. Why would I want it closed? So you don't have to wonder if I'm listening. She swallowed. Leave it open. All right, I slept badly. Not because I didn't trust her. Because I did, and that bothered me. In the morning, I found her in the kitchen making coffee like she'd been there longer than one night. I hope this is okay, she said. I saw the coffee. If you found it, you've already done better than me some mornings. She handed me a mug. You take it black? Do I look like I own flavored creamer? You look like you think cinnamon is suspicious. It is sneaky bark. She laughed properly that time. I drove out and found her car where she'd left it. A tired sedan, hazard lights dead, battery gone flat. I got it towed back with help from a guy named Gus who ran a small garage near the county line and owed me a favor from a winter breakdown. Gus looked at Chloe's car in my driveway and then at me. Yours? No? Woman's? Car usually gives it away, Gus. He grinned. You finally making friends? I liked you better when you charged too much and talked less. Chloe stood on the porch in my sweatshirt, arms crossed, listening. Gus tipped his cap at her. Mom. Chloe, she said. Gus, don't believe anything Mark says. Man once drove 600 miles with a sandwich on his dash because he didn't want to stop. It was wrapped. It had moved into the passenger seat by Tennessee. Chloe looked at me. You're not helping your mysterious image. I didn't order one. Gus left after we got the car positioned near my garage. I spent the afternoon checking the battery, alternator, and a few other things that had no business giving up at the same time. Chloe came out twice to offer help. You know cars, I asked. I know when they stop. Advanced level. I can hold a flashlight. It's daylight. I can hold it emotionally. I glanced at her and found her smiling. That smile hit harder than it should have. It wasn't coy. It was grateful and tired and trying to be normal. Go inside, I told her. Eat something. Are you always this bossy? Only when I'm right. When I came in around 6, the house smelled like real dinner. That stopped me in the doorway harder than any wreck I'd seen. There was food on the stove, dishes washed, counters cleared, not perfect, not staged. Just lived in. Chloe turned from the sink. I didn't mean to snoop. Your pantry was a crime scene. My pantry is organized by expiration year. That's not organization. It's history. She wiped her hands on a towel. I made chicken and rice. Nothing fancy. I stood there longer than I should have. What? She asked. Nothing. No, that face isn't nothing. I'm not used to coming home to food. She softened, and I hated that I'd let the sentence out. Well, she said, you fixed my car. I can make dinner. I haven't fixed it yet. Then this is a down payment. I sat at the table. She put a plate in front of me, then sat across from me like it was normal. It wasn't. My ex-wife had taught me that a house could look full and still be empty. She had also taught me that some people treated a man's effort like a utility bill, expected, annoying, and only noticed when it stopped. After the divorce, I stopped inviting people in. Work made that easy. A truck cab was perfect for a man who wanted walls but didn't want to admit it. Chloe didn't know any of that. She just passed me salt and asked if the rice was too soft. It's good, I said. You hesitated. I was chewing. You inspected it. I inspect everything. Romantic. I looked up. She looked down fast, but not fast enough. The word hung there. Ridiculous and not ridiculous at all. The next 2 days became a strange little routine. I worked on her car. She cleaned, cooked, called Aaron twice and got no answer, then left messages that became shorter and more controlled. She never asked for more than I offered. She never wandered into my bedroom. She never touched my things without asking, except to rescue my kitchen from what she called bachelor neglect with plumbing. On the third morning, dispatch called. I listened, then said, that runs tomorrow. Chloe looked up from the table. The dispatcher kept talking. Short haul. 2 nights. Oklahoma City to Amarillo, then back. I can take it, I said. After I hung up, Chloe folded her hands around her coffee. You're leaving? Tomorrow morning. 2 nights, maybe 3 if loading gets stupid. I can go to a motel. No, Mark, no, I repeated. Your car's still not road ready. You stay here, doors lock. You've got my number, Gus's number, and the house phone. I'm not your responsibility. I didn't say you were. You're acting like it. I leaned back. Then let me phrase it in a less offensive way. I don't want a half-fixed car on my conscience or a half-safe woman in a motel off Route 66. She looked at me quiet. Half-safe woman, she asked. Don't make me regret grammar. She smiled, but her eyes were worried. What if he finds me here? He won't. You don't know that. No, I don't. That honesty landed heavier than fake confidence would have. I pushed Gus's card across the table. If anything feels wrong, you call. Then you leave. Not because you are weak, because smart people don't wait around to prove a point. She picked up the card. You really trust me alone in your house? No. Her face fell a little. I added, I trust my read of you. That's different. She studied me. And what does your read say? That you'll leave the place cleaner than I deserve and apologize for using 2 towels. She laughed under her breath. That's annoyingly accurate. The next morning I left before sunrise. Chloe stood on the porch in jeans and one of my old jackets. She had washed my flannel and folded it over her arm. "You want this back?" she asked. "Keep it until you have your own dry emergency wardrobe. I can't keep stealing your clothes. That shirt was lonely." She held it against herself. "Drive safe." "I usually do." "That's not the same as promising." I looked at her, and for a second it felt too much like leaving someone who mattered. "I'll drive safe," I said. Her shoulders eased. "Good." On the road, I acted like a professional and checked my mirrors, logs, fuel, cargo, weather. But every time my phone buzzed, I looked too fast. She texted me a picture of dinner on my stove. She wrote, "I found actual spices hiding behind 3 cans of beans. Do you want me to report this discovery to anyone?" I typed back, "Destroy the evidence." She answered, "Too late." I used them. That night in Amarillo, I sat in the sleeper and stared at the message longer than I should have. A woman in my house, food on the stove, my shirt on her shoulders, my number in her phone. I should have felt trapped. Instead, I wanted to get back. That made me almost angry. The next day, I finished early, skipped my usual slow diner stop, and took the cleaner route home. I told myself it was because I had tools laid out and a car to finish. Truckers lie too. We're just better at doing it with a straight face. When I pulled into the driveway that evening, Chloe opened the front door before I killed the engine. She stepped onto the porch and smiled like she'd been trying not to. "You're early." "Disappointed?" "I didn't say that. You looked like you were about to file a complaint." She came down the steps. "I made too much dinner." "Convenient. Don't flatter yourself. I cook when I'm nervous." "You were nervous?" She stopped a few feet from me. "I didn't know if you'd come back the same." I didn't have a smart answer for that. I climbed down from the cab. "I didn't know either." She nodded, and neither of us moved for a second. Then she stepped forward and hugged me, not like the first night, not desperate, not freezing, not because she needed heat. This one was a choice. I put my arms around her and let myself feel it. Her voice was quiet near my chest. "I'm glad you're back." "Yeah," I said, "me too." She pulled back first, cheeks a little pink. "Dinner's getting cold. Can't have that. Your spices worked hard." That weekend, we fixed her car and made a mess of every boundary I thought I still had, not in the cheap way. Nothing rushed, nothing careless. We sat in the garage while I replaced a bad alternator, and she handed me tools after pretending she didn't know which one was which. "This one?" she asked, holding up a wrench. "That's a wrench." "I knew that. You were holding it like it might bite." Tools have attitudes, only if you insult them. She crouched beside the open hood. "Do you always talk this much when you work?" "No. So I'm special." I looked at her over the engine. She tried to look innocent. "Failed, you're distracting," I said. That wasn't a no. No, it wasn't. Her smile faded a little, not from sadness, from awareness. The air between us changed. I went back to the engine because I was still capable of cowardice. That night, after dinner, we sat on the back steps with coffee. She told me more about David, how he never started with rules, how he started with concern, how concern became questions, and questions became reports, and reports became punishment in the form of silence, money withheld, doors blocked, keys moved. "I stayed too long," she said. "Most people do with something that changes slowly." She looked at me. "You sound like you know. I was married." She waited, didn't dig. I rubbed my thumb along the mug. She didn't control me, she used me. Different machine, same repair bill. Chloe didn't give me pity. I liked that. "What happened?" she asked. "I worked. She spent. I forgave. She promised. I worked more. She respected me less. Eventually I realized the only thing keeping that marriage alive was my refusal to admit it was dead." Chloe's face tightened. "That's a hard thing to say out loud. It's easier after you've paid for it." "Money?" "Some. Probably cost more." She nodded slowly. "That's why you live like you're always packed." I glanced at her. She lifted a hand. "Sorry? Too much?" "No." Annoyingly accurate again. "I notice things." "That sounds dangerous." "It can be." We sat quiet. Then she reached over and touched my hand, just 2 fingers against my knuckles. "I don't want to use you," she said. I looked at her hand, then at her. "I know. Do you?" "I'm trying to." She didn't move her hand. I turned mine over and held it. The first kiss happened later that night in the kitchen because I reached for a towel at the same time she did, which sounds stupid because it was. Our hands touched. She looked up. I said her name like a warning. She didn't back away. Is this a bad idea? She asked. Probably. Do you want me to stop you? No. Good. She kissed me first. Soft, careful, testing the ground. I answered the same way because I wasn't going to be another man taking more than she offered. When we separated, she looked a little shaken. I stepped back. You okay? Yes. You sure? I'm sure. I'm just... She laughed once, embarrassed. I forgot what it felt like to want something and not be afraid of it. I understood that so well it made me uncomfortable. We go slow, I said. She nodded. Slow is good. Then she pointed at the towel still in my hand. You stole that from me. I'm establishing dominance in linen management. There he is. For 2 days it felt almost normal. Better than normal. We ate breakfast late, finished the car, drove it around the block. She kept saying she should look for work, call Aaron again, make a plan. I kept saying yes, sure, practical things, all while hoping her plan had room for me and hating myself a little for hoping. Sunday afternoon, her phone finally turned on with a replacement charger I had picked up. She had a pile of messages from Aaron, some worried, some strange, then one that made Chloe go still. What? I asked. She read it twice. Aaron says David came by her apartment. I put down the socket wrench. Chloe kept reading. She says she didn't tell him anything. Then she says she's sorry. Then nothing. I walked over. When? Yesterday. You told Aaron my name? No. Just that a trucker helped me, and I was safe outside Tulsa. Did you mention the town? She closed her eyes. I might have. I was tired. I don't remember. That's not your fault. It feels like it is. It's not. But the next afternoon, a dark pickup rolled into my driveway. I was in the garage. Chloe was beside me, wiping grease off her hands because she had stopped pretending she hated helping. The sound of tires on gravel made her turn. The color left her face. Mark, she said. I looked past her and saw a man getting out of the pickup like he owned the place. Early 40s maybe, neat shirt, controlled face. The kind of guy who probably said calm down to people he had spent 20 minutes provoking. Inside, I told Chloe. No. I looked at her. She swallowed. I'm not hiding in your house while he talks about me. Fair enough. I stepped out of the garage first. She came behind me, but I made sure I was between them. David stopped near the front of his truck and smiled like we were meeting at a neighborhood barbecue. Chloe, he called. You made this dramatic enough? She said nothing. I kept my voice level. You're on private property. He looked at me like I was furniture. And you are? The man telling you where you are. His eyes narrowed. I'm here to talk to my girlfriend. Chloe spoke from behind me. I'm not your girlfriend. David's mouth twitched. See, this is what she does. She gets emotional, runs off, then lets strangers play hero. I took one step forward. Not fast, just enough. You don't walk closer, I said. He laughed. Or what? Or we stop pretending this is a conversation. Chloe touched my arm, not to stop me, to steady herself. David saw it, and his face hardened. You don't know her, he said to me. You know whatever story she gave you while wearing your shirt. I felt Chloe flinch behind me. My jaw tightened, but I kept my voice calm. Last warning, get in your truck and leave. David pointed at her. Tell him, Chloe. Tell him how you needed a place. Tell him how you always need rescuing when rent comes due, or the car breaks, or life gets hard. Stop, she said. He ignored her. Did she cry yet? She does that. Big eyes, sad voice. Let me guess, you're fixing the car too? The words landed exactly where he aimed them. I hated that he was good at it. My ex-wife's voice came back in pieces. You like feeling needed, Mark. That's your problem. You don't know when someone's using you because you think sacrifice makes you noble. David smiled because he saw something move in my face. There it is, he said. You're not dumb. You figured it out. Chloe stepped around me. You don't get to do that. I reached a hand out, not grabbing her, just ready. David looked pleased. Do what? Tell the truth. You don't know the truth, she said. Her voice shook, but she stayed upright. You know pressure. You know how to make people doubt themselves. That's not truth. He leaned toward her. Get in the truck. I moved back in front of her. No, David stared at me. I pulled my phone from my pocket. You have 10 seconds to leave before I call the sheriff's office and report a man refusing to leave my property. He scoffed. You think that scares me? No, I think consequences annoy you. That's close enough. For a second, I thought he might push it. Then he looked at Chloe, and the smile went flat. This isn't over, he said. It is here, I answered. He got in his pickup, backed out hard, and left. The driveway went quiet. Chloe stood beside me, breathing like she'd held herself together with wire. "You okay?" I asked. She turned to me. "Are you?" That was the wrong question. Because I wasn't. Not the way I should have been. David had left, but he had dropped something behind. Doubt. Not about what I'd seen, about what I feared. I went back into the garage and started putting tools away. Chloe followed. "Mark, I need to clean this up. The tools can wait." I said I need to clean this up. She stopped. I heard myself. Cold. Flat. Familiar. "Okay," she said quietly. I wanted to turn around and fix it, but old habits are fast. They don't ask permission. That evening I got a call from dispatch about another run. I took it before the man finished explaining the route. Chloe stood in the doorway while I packed. "You're leaving tonight? Early morning. You just got back. Work doesn't care. Mark." I zipped the bag. "It's a run. Not a disappearance. It feels like one." I looked at her then, and I hated the hurt on her face because it made me feel cornered, and feeling cornered made me unfair. "You've got your car now," I said. Her eyes changed. There it was. The sentence I should have swallowed. She nodded once. "Right, that's not what I meant." "Yes, it is." "No, Chloe, it's okay." She stepped back. "I heard you. Don't do that." "Do what?" "Act like I kicked you out." She gave a tired little laugh. "You didn't have to." I stood there with the bag in my hand, too proud to admit I was scared and too stupid to put the bag down. She went to the guest room and came out a few minutes later with her things packed. Not much. A small duffel, my folded flannel on top. "That's yours," I said. She looked at the shirt. "No, it was never mine. I felt that one." "Where are you going?" "I don't know yet. That's not a plan. Neither is running a freight route every time feelings become inconvenient." I almost smiled despite everything. "That's a little dramatic. It's accurate." She walked toward the door. I followed. "Chloe, wait." She stopped with her hand on the knob, but she didn't turn. "I'm not going to be the reason your life gets messy. My life was messy before you. It was just quiet. Then don't let me make it louder." She opened the door. I watched her cross the yard to her repaired car, the one I had fixed with my own hands, which suddenly felt like I had built the exit she was using. That was fair. Painful, but fair. She put her bag in the passenger seat, started the engine. It turned over cleanly. Good repair. Terrible timing. I stood inside the house and looked through the window like a coward in work boots. Then she put the car in reverse, and something in me finally got tired of my own nonsense. I walked out fast, got into my pickup, and pulled it across the driveway behind her before she could back out. She hit the brakes. A second later, she got out. "Are you serious?" she called. "Unfortunately, yes. You blocked me in?" "I did. That is not a great look after the day I've had. You're right." She stared at me, surprised. I got out and stood by my truck. "I'm not stopping you from leaving. I'm stopping myself from letting you leave because I was too scared to ask one straight question." Her anger softened, but she kept her distance. "Then ask it." I looked at the ground once, then back at her. "Do you want me, Chloe?" "Not the house. Not the truck. Not the car repair. Not safety for a week. Me." She didn't answer right away. I forced myself to keep going. Because that man knew where to hit. I've been used before. I paid for it in more ways than money. And when he said those things, part of me believed him because part of me has been waiting for proof that I was stupid to let you in. Her eyes filled, but she didn't cry. "And that's on me," I said, "not you. I should have asked instead of freezing you out." She crossed her arms. "You hurt me." "I know. You made me feel like I brought dirt into your clean little empty life." "My life wasn't clean. It was empty. That doesn't make it okay." "No, it doesn't." She looked at her car, then back at me. "I was leaving because I thought staying would cost you too much." "It will cost me something." Her face tightened. I took one step closer and stopped. "It'll cost me the comfortable lie that I don't need anyone. I can afford that." She looked down. When she spoke, her voice was rough. "You were the first place I stopped running." I stayed quiet. She wiped under one eye with the heel of her hand, annoyed at the tear. "I don't know what love is supposed to feel like when it's not mixed with fear. I'm learning. But I know this. When you were gone, I didn't feel relieved. I missed you. When you came back, I felt like the house made sense. And when David stood in your driveway, I wasn't hoping you'd save me. I was hoping you'd believe me." That hit exactly where it needed to. "I do believe you," I said. "Do you?" "Yes." She searched my face. And what do you want? I looked at her car, my house, the driveway, the truck beyond it. The safest answer was to let her go and tell myself I had done the decent thing. I was sick of safe answers. I want you to stay, I said, but not alone in that house while I run freight and wonder if David shows up again. She frowned. What are you saying? I'm saying there's a passenger seat in my truck. Her mouth parted slightly. I leave in the morning, I continued. You can come with me a few days. No pressure, no big speech. You see what my life actually is. I stopped pretending my home is a building I barely use. She looked toward the semi parked near the side of the property. You want me in that truck with you? I want you where I can look over and know you're safe. I want you to decide if this is something you want when the road isn't romantic and the coffee is bad and I get irritated at loading docks. That's a terrible sales pitch. I'm known for honest marketing. A real smile broke through the hurt. Then she looked at her car again. What about this? We lock it in the garage. It'll still be here. And if I say no, then I move my pickup and you go. I won't follow you. I won't punish you. I'll hate it, but I'll respect it. She studied me for a long time. Then she walked to her car, shut it off, took the keys, and picked up her duffel. Your truck have heat, she asked. Better than my house. Snacks? Define snacks. Oh, Mark, I have jerky and crackers. We'll need to address that. So that's a yes? She walked toward me and handed me my flannel. No, she said. My chest tightened. Then she smiled. That's a move your pickup so I can park my car in the garage. Genius. I laughed, and it came out with more relief than dignity. We loaded her car into the garage, packed her duffel into the truck, and shut the house down for the road. Chloe climbed into the passenger seat like she was stepping onto a bridge she had chosen herself. As I started the engine, she ran her hand over the dashboard. So this is the famous office. Office, dining room, bedroom, occasional argument chamber. Sounds cozy. Wait until you meet the cup holders, very demanding. She buckled in, then looked at me. I'm scared. Me too. You don't look it. I've had practice. She reached across the space between us and took my hand for a second. Don't shut me out again without at least giving me the chance to be honest. I won't. And don't ask me to stay if you're going to treat me like a problem you regret. I won't, she nodded. Then drive. I pulled the truck down the driveway. We had almost reached the road when headlights appeared from the right. David's pickup rolled in and stopped across the driveway entrance. Chloe went still. You've got to be kidding me, I said. David got out and came around the front of his truck, holding up both hands like he was the reasonable one. I just want to talk, he called. Chloe's fingers gripped the seat. I rolled my window halfway down. Move your truck. He looked up at Chloe in the passenger seat. The height difference did something to him. She wasn't below him anymore. She wasn't in his doorway, his car, his apartment, his rules. She was above him, behind glass, sitting beside me by choice. Chloe, he called, get out. We'll talk like adults. She leaned forward slightly. I am talking like an adult. I'm leaving. With him? With me. He pointed at me. You don't even know this man. She looked at me once, then back down at him. I know enough. David stepped closer to the truck. You're making a mistake. I released the brake. The truck eased forward. Slow, controlled, no drama. Just weight and direction. David's eyes widened. Hey, I didn't speed up. I didn't threaten him. I just kept moving at a crawl, giving him every chance to make the smart choice. Mark, Chloe whispered. He'll move. David slapped a hand on the hood of his pickup, looked from the truck to me, and realized the argument was over. He backed away, then rushed to his pickup and pulled it clear. As we rolled past him, Chloe didn't shrink. She didn't hide her face. She looked down at him through the passenger window, calm and quiet, and lifted one hand. Not a wave, more like a period at the end of a sentence. Then we turned onto the road. For a few miles, neither of us spoke. The rain had stopped, and the pavement shone under the headlights. Chloe sat with both hands in her lap, staring forward. You okay? I asked. She let out a breath. I think so. You think? I didn't run. No, I didn't explain myself to him. No, I didn't ask permission. I glanced over. How's that feel? She leaned back against the seat. Strange. Good strange or bad strange? She looked at me, and the corner of her mouth lifted. Passenger seat strange. I can work with that. She reached for my hand again. This time she kept it longer. The first trip was not some perfect romantic movie. She learned that truck stops can be loud, showers require timing, and I become deeply unpleasant when someone loads freight 3 hours late and calls it almost ready. I learned that Chloe talks to maps like they can hear her, hates gas station coffee, and has strong opinions about snacks that apparently do not include jerky as a food group. We argued in Arkansas because I answered a question too sharply after a bad morning. She went quiet for 20 minutes. Then she said, "Are we doing the shutting out thing again? Or are you just being a pain?" I looked over. Pain. Good. Fix it. I'm sorry. For which part? For snapping at you. And for making the cab feel like a place you had to be careful. She nodded. Accepted. That easy? No. But I'm not David. I don't collect mistakes for later. That one stayed with me. I also learned she had courage that didn't make noise. At a diner outside Little Rock, a man at the counter kept looking at her in a way I didn't like. Before I could say anything, she looked straight at him and said, "Can I help you find something? Or are you just practicing being awkward?" He turned red and faced his plate. I nearly choked on my coffee. She looked at me. "What?" "Nothing. You were about to handle it." I was considering options. I handled it. "Yes, Mom." She smiled. "Careful. I might like that." By the time we got home from that first run, the house didn't feel like a test anymore. It felt like a place we returned to between stretches of road. Chloe didn't move in all at once. She was careful. I was careful. We took practical steps because romance is nice, but adults still need mail forwarded, phone numbers changed, locks checked, and honest conversations about money. Erin called eventually. She cried and apologized. David had pressured her, scared her, worn her down. Chloe listened, forgave what she could, and changed what needed changing. She didn't make me fight those battles for her. She made her own calls, closed old accounts, found work she could do remotely, and built a life that didn't depend on hiding. David sent a few messages from new numbers. Chloe blocked them without shaking. Then one day she handed me her phone and said, "Look, there were no new messages." "Nothing?" I asked. "Nothing. How do you feel?" She thought about it. "Like I got a room back in my own head." I nodded. "Good room to have." Months passed. We fought sometimes. Real fights, not cruel ones. I could still get quiet too fast. She could still apologize for needing things she had every right to need. But we learned the rhythm. She'd say, "Talk to me before you go behind the wall." I'd say, "Ask for help before you pack a bag in your mind." Neither of us got it right every time. We got better anyway. The proposal wasn't fancy. I didn't do it in a restaurant or in front of strangers. I did it at sunrise in a truck stop parking lot in New Mexico, because that was where I realized I didn't want a version of my life that didn't include her complaining about the coffee. She was sitting with one foot on the dash, reading a route note when I said, "Marry me." She looked over the paper. "That is not how adults transition topics. I'm serious. I can see that. You look like you're about to argue with a fuel pump." I bought a ring. Her face changed. "You did? It's in the glove box." The glove box? I panicked about storage. She opened it and found the small box between paperwork and napkins. She stared at it, then at me. "You planned this?" "Poorly." "But yes." She opened the box, and for once she had no quick answer. I said, "You don't have to say yes because I helped you. You don't owe me a life because I stopped on the highway. I'm asking because I want you beside me when the road is boring, hard, inconvenient, and good. Especially good." She blinked fast. "That was almost smooth. I've been practicing." "On who?" "The cup holders." She laughed through tears, then leaned across the console and kissed me. "Yes," she said, "but we are buying better snacks for the honeymoon. We got married small." Gus came and gave a toast that included the sandwich story, because friendship is mostly betrayal with witnesses. Chloe wore a simple dress. I wore a suit that made me feel like I was pretending to be a banker. We had dinner afterward with a few people who mattered and nobody who didn't. Her car stayed in our garage for a while, then we sold it to a young woman who needed something reliable. Chloe said watching it leave didn't hurt like she expected. "It was my escape car," she told me. Hard to sell that. It became something else. "What?" She slipped her hand into mine. Proof I got to choose where I went next. Now she runs with me more often than not. She handles paperwork better than I ever did, finds places to eat that don't taste like regret, and has turned the cab into something I still can't explain without sounding soft. There's an extra blanket behind the seat. Real coffee in a sealed container, a small stack of books, her sweatshirt on the hook, my flannel still folded in the sleeper, because she says some things should stay where the story started. The house outside Tulsa isn't empty anymore. We're not there all the time, but when we are, it feels used in the right way. There are dishes in the sink sometimes, her shoes by the door, my tools where they shouldn't be, a list on the fridge that says snacks, not marked snacks. David became a smaller part of the world. Last I heard through Aaron, he left town after losing more control than he could explain. I didn't celebrate it, I just didn't miss the shadow. Sometimes, late at night, Chloe falls asleep in the passenger seat while I drive. I'll glance over and remember that first night, the rain, the wet clothes, the way she asked for warmth like she was ashamed to need it, the way I almost kept driving because stopping meant getting involved. I used to think home was a place you owned and locked up before leaving. I was wrong. Sometimes home climbs into your truck shaking from the cold, puts on your old shirt, and asks for one more thing. And if you're lucky, you're smart enough to give it. Would you have stopped for Chloe on that highway, or kept driving? Do you think Mark was right to take Chloe on the road instead of leaving her alone at the house?